Ja, wunderschönen frühen Nachmittag hier aus dem Ars Electronica Center, Home Delivery am ersten Tag. Und da wollen wir natürlich die Highlights von unserer Organisation, von der Ars Electronica, ins richtige Licht rücken. Und eine der spannendsten Sachen, die bei uns passieren, sind wenige Meter von hier entfernt im Ars Electronica Futurelab zu Hause. Da geht es um Forschung an den Cutting Edge Technologies für ganz verschiedene Kunden, für Forschungsprojekte der EU und für ganz viele interessante Dinge, die uns einfach als Gesellschaft in der nächsten Zeit auf jeden Fall beschäftigen werden. Und mich freut es ganz besonders, dass wir diesen ersten Einstieg in Seit Futurelab mit den 3 Leitern vom Ars Electronica Futurelab machen können. Das eine ist der Horst Hörtner, der das Ars Electronica Futurelab mitbegründet hat, mit über 20 Jahren und da einfach als das Mastermind hinter diesen ganzen Forschungsprojekten aktuell einen Einblick geben wird. Das zweite ist der Roland Haring, Stellvertreter vom Horst und insbesondere im technischen Bereich verantwortlich. Und das dritte, seit kurzem im Führungsteam vorhanden, der Hideaki Ogawa, der sich ganz stark um diese künstlerischen und diese Verbindung von künstlerischen und technologischen Sachen kümmert. Und ich freue mich, dass die 3 jetzt diese Präsentation machen werden und einen Blick inside von diesen Forschungseinrichtungen geben können. Das Ganze werden wir jetzt in Englisch machen, so we'll switch to English and enjoy the next half an hour.
Thank you very much. Welcome everybody. I'm here to introduce the Ars Electronica Futurelab. What is the Futurelab? The Futurelab is an atelier laboratory combining art and science for the one meaning, and that is, sorry? Oh, pa? No, it's not on mute. It should be unmuted though. Okay, true. Here we go. So, Ars Electronica Futurelab combining art and the laboratory style, art and science, for the notion of creating our future. Not like experiencing our future simply, but really actively creating it. It's a transdisciplinary think tank. It's the R&D department. It's the Labor Atelier of the Ars Electronica. And our projects have one thing in common, that is that we want to reach out to a huge audience, a so-called untrained audience, even with scientific perspectives, so that we can discuss the meaning of scientific outcome, the meaning of technologies, the meaning of the trends of our future for the individuals, but also for the society. We're doing this in a very strong focus on the participation, on creating and experiencing in a very tangible way the future visions, but also really to learn and getting active in creating our future based on the combination of art and science, as I explained before, humanizing the technology to a very, very high degree, the humans always in the center, in order to generate and discuss and start discourses of those novel cultures. The team is a very transdisciplinary team. So it's 38 members at the moment from different disciplines, from architecture, biochemistry, media art, of course, in every consequence. There is software engineers, software architects, there's industrial designers, civil engineers, telematicians, etc., etc. And we are not faculty-based like a university would. We're actually trying to create research questions where all the different disciplines would co-work to answer the core of the research question. And we're not alone in doing this. We are embedded in a huge network of academic partners, which you can see here, CERN, MIT, etc., etc. And also very important for us is our industrial, as we don't have a stable of public funding like universities would have. We are actually generating our projects out of income from third parties mainly, and some few research projects, research budgets, national grants, international grants. Just to name a few, CERN, MIT I did, Royal College of Art, you can see it here, industries, Honda R&D, BMW, Daimler, Intel, Siemens, Audi. These are the partners that we are working along the fields that I have described before. But rather than this, we would like to have a look into, here we go, into our research topics. We are organized, as I said before, along research questions. And the actual research questions are summarized here with the key researches in the following slides. So having the artificial collectives as the first topic, where Peter Holzkorn is the key researcher for it. This is concentrating on robotic swarms, on their autonomy, but also on their expressiveness in the swarm. And some of you might remember the very first and early projects that we did with drones, drone swarms that were taking off for the first time in 2012 for the Klangwolke here in Linz. And this now, meanwhile, has generated its own market, so to say. There is hundreds of enterprises now worldwide doing this kind of drone-based entertainment shows. Where else for us, it was more about, still is, a research question that is driven by artistic motivation. So we have gone further on conceptualizing this swarm idea and this expressiveness idea with different types and different styles of robots or vehicles of all kinds. The next research that we are looking at is a very important year, very important one, creative intelligence. Very, very closely combined or embedded into the frame of artificial intelligence, but pointing out the question of, can machines create? Like there's a quote by Alan Turing in his first paper in the 1950s when he was quoting the question on, can machines think, which is still not really answered to a certain degree still now. We are now looking at this topic on the creativity of machines, how to utilize artificial intelligence in the process of creation and co-creation with humans. And I brought an example that was going viral last year. Maybe we would need some audio, as this is Mahler's Unfinished. And just listen into it a bit. This was a presentation during the festival last year in 2019. And this artificial intelligence has trained the composition style, more or less, has learned the composition style of Mahler. And we've just given the task to the artificial intelligence to produce a short composition that would use the same composition styles in creating music. And this has been conducted by Markus Boschner, and the Bruckner Orchestra was performing it based on a score that has been generated by the artificial intelligence previously. And the quality, we are all very surprised, very happy about that this is a very, very high musical quality as well. The research on that field is going way further. Meanwhile, Ali Nikrang is leading a development on our own artificial intelligence machinery. And also, he is now looking towards contemporary music in addition as well. Algorithmic apperception. The apperception is the notion of beyond perception, including in a perception of a space, including the interpretation of the individual. And the algorithmic apperception is now trying to identify, develop this notion of spatial interpretation and the meaning of people or objects moving through space to open up this kind of interpretation to not only the measurements are there, of course, need to be taken of a multimodal sensory environment, but how to interpret the situation in the space where the systems are moving or the people are moving. So are we, and that's the question of Otto, can artificial systems interpret space rather than measure the space? One of the projects in this realm was the bridge project that we did with for SAP. So Otto was leading here in the development of the sensory field with a lot of laser sensors and measuring people who walk through the space, measuring their speed, measuring their position in the space, and also their how they walk through. And this way, how they walk through, has been interpreted by the system, has been interpreted by this artificial intelligence behind it that was triggering a composition that was co-created by Rupert Huber, co-created with Otto Naderer directly to come into a, how can I say, audio description even of the space. So maybe down there's a loudspeaker in the corner. Maybe you can click it and we can listen to the music that have been triggered by that. The sounds you can hear have been triggered by the people crossing that bridge. By walking through the bridge, they have triggered different audio signals that are composed in a way so that they are kind of in harmony wherever the people are moving. It's a very subtle and silent sound. I would like to be quiet for a while to just give the chance to listen to it. At the headquarters of SAP. And now I would like to hand over to Roland, as this is his research topic, the co-immersion spaces.
Thank you, Horst. Virtual reality is actually a very important topic for Ars Electronica. So in 1996, when the Ars Electronica Center was opened, right from the start, constantly we had infrastructures here in the house to show virtual reality and the capabilities to the people visiting it. But also when you look at VR today, and what you probably know are these head-mounted displays, which you can also use for your gaming consoles and things like that. They are mostly single-user interfaces, or they are built for a very limited number of people that can actually participate in a VR experience at the same time. And this is something which was not fitting very well for the requirements that we had here. As in a center like the Ars Electronica Center, you have constantly groups of people visiting, and this is why we started to think very early, how can we scale up VR experiences to really for groups of people. And this is basically the driving question behind this whole research topic of co-immersive spaces. A co-immersive space is a space where people meet, they are co-located at a certain physical place, and there they enjoy basically a VR experience. And for that, you need to design the space, but you also need to design the content and the applications. And perhaps next slide. Where we are standing here today is the Deep Space 8K. And this is basically one of these latest VR installations that we developed, and which is being shown here normally at the Ars Electronica Center very successfully on a daily basis. So like there are a lot of different presentations and shows here. And this space also has a lot of capabilities, like being able to do a stereoscopic projection, but also to track the people in the space. Because what we found out is that there are basically like two really fundamental factors. One is basically the perception, so that you have a plausible virtual environment which is surrounding you, but also on the other hand, the possibility to interact in it, so that you really become part of it by what you're doing. And this is what we actually try to achieve. And this is, one of our, I would say, very important ongoing research projects. And especially now, I mean, what we also started last year is to think of how to extend even beyond this space here, also to other people which are basically remotely located. So last year we did the first 8K live stream from Japan to the deep space during the Ars Electronica Festival, simply to extend the possibilities of spaces like that. And I think that this will become even more important now, as we see today that we still have a very limited number of people here in this space, but therefore questions like how to basically connect and enhance also the experience will be also in the future very important. But perhaps going to next slide. We're also looking on different forms of how this space can be used, and except from things like performances, which we're doing during the festival, things like that. We are also looking on educative scenarios. And what you see here, for example, is a virtual anatomy lecture, which is being done here now for several years in this space, also teaching medical students to show them anatomy with the capabilities of an environment like that. And this is also basically an ongoing research project where we are collaborating with the Johannes Kepler University and Siemens to bring this even to the next level and beyond what we can do here today. So very interesting thing for us. But perhaps for the next topic, I would like to hand over to Hide.
Thank you very much. I'm Hide Oga from Ars Electronica Futurelab, co-director. From my side, I'm gonna explain about the, in a way, our thinking, in a way, Ars Electronica thinking to the audience. So far, you guys, the international audience might be a little bit surprised about our unique, kind of attitude to shape our future through, prototyping, like future lab activities. Some people definitely know like a festival and Ars Electronica Center itself, but actually the uniqueness of Ars Electronica ecosystem is to have the future lab where artists, collective, research collective are gathering to discuss and envision the future. What I'm gonna talk about here now is about art thinking. So probably everyone might realize, importance of art, but would you go next? Yeah. So I think, this was just I found yesterday. Probably, everyone is now kind of thinking about ourselves. and thinking about our society and the earth and future. To be honest, art, of course, sometimes very function as the medicine, but I would say art is not kind of medicine, but I would say immunity for future. So to explain about that, maybe let's go to the next slide. Yeah. So I would like to introduce the basic idea of the positioning of art and design. So art can create, questions. Design can create solutions. I think looking at our daily lives, we can find many design objects, or we can see the strategy to shape our society for better society. So design is always kind of forced to push us to the future, to the direction. But I would say art is a kind of compass to look around, 360 degrees. What's the possibility? What's issues? What's the future? So actually, Ars Electronica thinking, in a way, art thinking, is we are very interested in the, this power of art to look around, to see the possibilities, and also to test and to try and to discuss with people. So if someone is interested in innovation, let's say, think about a new product or services. Probably some people might be facing to a difficulties to make innovative some ideas. But my question is do you have a right question, or do you have a right mission for tomorrow? So design thinking allows us to shape the product and the services by creating solutions. But the point is, fundamental question to start the behavior is very important. So therefore, I think actually our Ars Electronica Futurelab is not just starting to talk about or solve the fundamental issue, but rather our attitude is really focusing on to find the right theme mission for tomorrow. So by creating creative questions, and this will be definitely effective for vision and philosophy for our society. So maybe this might be quite interesting reference. As a research-wise, I'm gonna just introduce one very interesting diagram by Hiroshi Ishii from MIT Media Lab. So how, technologies and visions, are very interesting, structure. So vision is very, how to say, in a way, difficult to reach. And but the technologies are very high speed now to be consumed. So to approach to the vision, how to have our own compass, how to envision it, this kind of thinking is very important. I think art thinking and Ars Electronica thinking is very also connecting to what Hiroshi made. So because what we are achieving together with our colleague and with our partners, not just solving for some, for some products for 1 year or several years, but we are trying to think of the much longer kind of, future together. So this case, this art thinking again is very interesting. Maybe some people are interested in what we are doing. So let's look at a little bit what we are doing shortly. Actually, if if you are interested in working with us to think about future, we have kind of general kind of flow to invite our partners to inspire and also to envision and to product. Today, in the presentation from Horst and Roland, you saw many interesting examples about the prototype parts. But as Futurelab, as in a way method and also attitude to think about the future, we have this kind of basic process to envision the future. So so you can see many examples. Our projects are always providing new opportunities for people and for society to discuss the future directions. So then we, through the artistic thinking, art thinking, we are refreshing the new compass. So through the prototypes as a tangible forms. So what I would like to really share with all of you is now it's very interesting time, isn't it, to think of our compass. So our future is not just coming, of course it's coming, but with positive thinking, we would like to go ahead. So this case, Ars Electronica thinking, art thinking. So what's the role of art? How to apply the art into different domains. So not just of art for art, art for society, art for education, art for science, art for industry, art for governance. I think it's going to be quite interesting perspective. So I just wanted to address what we are doing as a Futurelab as a basis through the art thinking. Then I would like to hand over this microphone to host.
Thank you very much, Hide. Thank you, David. And I just would like to summarize a bit of what we stand for at the Futurelab. It's a matter of fact that science, of course, is creating knowledge. And also that technology is creating possibilities for us. But as Hide very nicely explained, it's art that creates the meeting. Sorry, the meeting, yes, right. We're a little bit over time, I have to say. So we stop here and finish here. I want to mention that this Insight of Futurelab will happen every week. So we will bring more content and also more possibility for a deeper discussion with the audience as well in the upcoming episodes of. This was episode 1, so to say, for the next weeks. Thanks very much and bye.